We talked about polls and electoral map predictions yesterday. Today, let's look at the individual states. Candidates don't generally win the presidency if they don't win Ohio and Florida. Florida was the deciding state in the Bush-Gore election in 2000, and Ohio, my home state, unfortunately, they leaned left twice for Obama. The polls themselves are showing Hillary with an edge nationwide over Trump, but look at Ohio polls, look at Florida polls individually, Trump is ahead. And Trump drew 20,000 people to his rally in Tampa this week. Hillary Clinton's running mate Tim Kaine drew only 30 people total. With me now to break this down is history professor at SUNY Empire State College and author of Obama's America, a transformative vision of our national identity, Ian Reifowitz. Ian, good to see you.
Always good to be here, Liz.
All right, Ian, let's break down these individual states. Let me just start by asking, which states are you going to be watching election night?
Well, really, the key states for me are the ones that Hillary Clinton needs to win the election. And there are really four that she's got to have. New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Colorado. If she wins those four states, and in each of them she's leading now by an average of more than 5 points. If she wins those four states, she doesn't need Florida, she doesn't need Ohio, she doesn't need North Carolina. What Hillary Clinton wants is to be in a position where she doesn't need the really tough states. And I think those are three tough ones for her.
Right, and that would make this election even more exciting, even more unique, even more of an oddity than it already is if a president won without Ohio or Florida here. But let's talk about those. Let's talk about some of these other states, the more traditional states for a second. So in Ohio, like I said, it's my home state. It goes back and forth. Right now, there's a poll individually. Trump is up by 4 points over Hillary in Ohio, but 6% are still undecided. That's an average, actually, from Real Clear Politics. What do you see happening there?
I think Ohio is probably the most dead even of the big states. The HuffPost average, which includes that most recent poll you mentioned, has Hillary with an average lead of about half a point. I mean, that's pretty much as dead even as you can get. Trump has to have Ohio. He can't win the presidency without it, as you said. I'm sure you'd be super proud as a native Ohioan to see Trump win the presidency with Ohio. I think he's probably got a decent chance to win that state. One poll in either direction really doesn't mean very much. If you take the averages and it's within 1 percentage point of either person being in the lead, you're really talking about a coin flip at that point.
Right. And I got to say, it was very exciting. When I did live in Ohio, I lived in the swing district, the county, the one county that decides it for Ohio every year. So it's a real letdown voting this presidential election in California, where it really doesn't matter what I vote for the president here. But you're absolutely right, though, in your analysis that Trump needs to win both Ohio and Florida, and that's not true for Hillary. Hillary has other paths to victory, whereas Trump does not. He has to win Florida and Ohio to win, in my opinion, at least. Pennsylvania, though, Ian, look at Pennsylvania. It's about the same. I assume this is within the margin of error, but 45% Hillary, 42% Trump, 6% to either Gary Johnson or Jill Stein, and then 7% undecided. What do you see there?
I don't mean to burst your bubble, but Pennsylvania is a little bit outside the margin of error at this point, not from looking at one poll, but if you look at the average of polls, which is really what you want to do. Hillary's led in essentially every poll that's come out in Pennsylvania over the last few weeks, some by 2 points, some by 8, some by 9, but the average is roughly about 6 points. You'd have to see a number of polls with Trump in the lead to have any sense that Hillary's lead is down to 2 or 3 or even 1, which would put Trump in striking distance. But yes, Pennsylvania is one of the states that Hillary needs to put her over the top at 270. She can get to 272, as I mentioned, with New Hampshire, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Colorado. She doesn't need the big three of Ohio, Florida, North Carolina. She wouldn't even need Nevada in that case, which is another state where
right
she has
now, I think she's up by about 7 points in North Carolina, so she's already doing pretty well there. As painful as it is for me to say that. Let me show this picture on the screen. This is really funny, and this is not even a partisan issue. I would laugh the same at Mike Pence if this happened to him. But Trump drew a crowd of 20,000 at a rally in Tampa, and Tim Kaine only drew a crowd of 30 people. Ian, that includes the media. 30 people. How does that happen?
Yeah. Liz, I don't know that I would, get out of bed to go see Tim Kaine or Mike Pence at a rally. I wouldn't call him a rock star by any stretch of the imagination. But as we know from experience, the size of the rally doesn't really have that much to do with the number of voters. I think you could say that the people who are voting for Donald Trump are very excited to vote for him in many cases. They've got a lot of energy behind them, but their vote still only counts as one person. whether they're super excited or whether they're holding their nose. And I think that has a lot to do with the rallies. Donald Trump is a very entertaining figure. You can say a lot
Right,
of things
no,
about
that's
him.
true. That's true. He's an entertainer. That was his business before this. All right, and last question then. And this actually keeps in line with national averages here. So I said in Pennsylvania, 7% are undecided. In Ohio, it says Real Clear Politics says 6% are still undecided. In a national poll that I saw yesterday, I think it said that 88% of Americans as a whole had made their decision about who they're going to vote for sure, not just they're leaning one way or the other. Who are these last-minute undecideds? Who do they veer towards?
Look, I think the safest thing to do is to just split them 50-50. I mean, there were all kinds of theories we heard in years past. Oh, the undecideds break against the incumbent because the incumbent is better known. That didn't necessarily work when people who were for John Kerry saw that happening in 2004. Trump and Hillary are two of the most well-known people in this country, maybe on this planet. So I don't think there's any way to guess. It's safest to just split them 50-50.
No, and honestly, at this point, I don't know who it is exactly that hasn't decided who they're going to vote for. We've been watching this campaign for a year and a half. Even these October surprises. Now, I'm obviously, you and I are both very, probably obsessed is the correct word, with all the political news that breaks every day. But even these October surprises, people already know who they're going to vote for. You see it on different media outlets. You see it on your Facebook feed, on Twitter. You know, your friends text you. They already know what they think of the October surprises before it even happens. And even the Trump tapes of a couple weeks ago, that shocked everyone across the board. It didn't, not just Democrats, not just Republicans. And Republicans' favorability of Trump dropped almost in half, but it's already rebounded. So I don't know what difference the October surprises are going to make at this point. But do you expect any more, or are we done with that?
I think the optimal time, if you were a strategist, would be to have released them 2 to 3 weeks before the election. On the other hand, you know what? The last October surprise in 2004, I think, was the last weekend. Was it that bin Laden released something about Bush that ended up helping him? So I guess if bin Laden is your master strategist, look, Liz, I really don't know. We're grasping at straws here. I think you're right. When the basic thing that you said is correct is that most, if not almost all, voters have made their decision, and I don't see what else could come out that could really change a lot of minds.
Right, and at this point, I'm almost hoping that something that serious doesn't come out, just because whatever it would be, if it was that serious, it would probably be detrimental to our country. Ian, thank you so much for your analysis. It was great to talk to you as usual. All right, guys, you know the drill. Talk to me. Tweet Liz_Wheeler. You know I read all your tweets, and we'll meet you back here in just a minute.